It's my pleasure to guide you through the first panel of the day. Just so you know what to expect, the panel will be composed of two discussions. First, we have the speakers here to talk a little bit more broadly about security and resilience. So we'll hear the perspective of ENTSO-E, the Commission, ACER, and NATO. And then we'll delve a little bit more in concrete examples of the synchronization processes of Ukraine, Moldova, and the Baltic countries with continental Europe. So without further ado, I will introduce the speakers of this first discussion. We have Zbinek Boldis, ENTSO-E President, Anca Iulia Cimpeanu, Deputy Head of Unit at DG ENER for the European Commission, Cristina Rimkunaite, subject matter expert at NATO Energy Security Center of Excellence, and François Baud, strategy lead at ACER. So as we already heard a little bit from Zbinek, we know that the energy system is transforming with the fast integration of sectors, the integration of renewable sources, decentralization of generation sources. We've talked a lot, so we've been talking a lot about the need to speed up investments for the grids and the grid development as well. All topics that we'll know very well and we'll hear more about throughout the day. But at the same time, all of this is happening with the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the more broad geopolitical and economic challenges and trends around on the global scale, which have brought Europe to rethink a little bit about its security. Security both thought as the traditional defense sector, but also energy security, which is what we will talk a little bit about today. Energy security meant as a security of energy supply, but also the security of grid system operation, as well as the protection from a physical and cyber standpoint of the critical infrastructure, including the electricity infrastructure that TSOs are managing. So perhaps I'll start with Zbinek. I will ask you to help us frame a little bit this conversation and explain why the security and resilience are such key and important aspects of TSO's work. And in particular, if you could tell us about how TSOs are anticipating all type of risks that could potentially disrupt the electricity system and how we're working to mitigate them.
Thank you, Anna. Just let me start with some reflection. When I started working with TSO, all my colleagues said that I came in a very exciting time, because when they started some decades ago, this was the most stable industry ever. And they were saying that everything is really safe and things are planned and they anticipate everything that may come in the next year. And there were thick books. This was the operational planning and things were very, very clear for the next year. In the last decades, things have changed very significantly. And something didn't change, and that is the low risk appetite of TSOs. So we are very happy to take measures every time when things evolve to ensure that we are fit for the purpose and for what is coming. And of course, our meshed grids are very, very robust, very strong, and able to accommodate many disruptions and many things that occur. However, we have now a situation, in the last decades, we see more and more to come to our grids, and we are of course happy to host that, but also we need to be prepared and able to ensure that the security of supply is there in the first place. And the thing that we do that job very well is obvious from the fact that electricity in a socket is a kind of human right today. People expect it will be always there. So we are facing not only new generation sources, new renewables with their intermittency, we also see more complex cyber situation and cybersecurity needs, and new technologies, decentralization, and everything that comes to the system, which is starting to serve as a system of systems, as a platform for other platforms. Of course, the physical and digital protection is also an issue. The physical protection is dealt with by the member states in the first place, but there is also a coordination on the level of ENTSO-E to ensure that the best practice is shared. There is a number of activities to plan and anticipate these risks, these disruptions. We talk about our 10-year network development plans, ERA, seasonal outlooks, and operational preparedness plan, which is also now a European obligation. And ENTSO-E is obliged to develop methodologies how to prepare for that, to prepare regional crisis scenarios and cross-border cooperation. There are many measures, a number of activities, and of course we train, we make stress tests, we have specific protocols to follow, and we have every 4 years a report on how this is going, which is the basis then for the national plans. So there is a number of things. Of course, something that goes also beyond our pan-European cooperation, or that goes lower. These are regional cooperation centers, which also play a role in ensuring that the system operation goes well, and strengthening this cooperation is a big added value by TSOs. So I would stay general to leave more space for the experts, and I must say that there is a lot of activities, and it's a top priority for ENTSO-E. Thank you.
Thank you, Zbigniew, and then we'll delve a little bit more in the details of some concrete examples in the next discussion. But now I'd like to pass it to the European Commission to hear what are the current and perhaps if you have insights on the future initiatives that are on the table to enable a secure and resilient European electricity market and grid. So Anka, if you can share what has the Commission been doing to build up the resilience in the electricity grid and ensure the security of supply?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot, Anna, for the question. So I think on the Commission, we're very happy that, like Zbigniew said, system operators are risk averse, so a low risk appetite. But nevertheless, we see that recently there are more and more challenges in this view. And I would start with the sabotage of Nord Stream 1 and 2, or the damage caused by external activity to the Baltic connector, which made it clear that our energy system is under threat, something that we haven't been facing before. From the Commission side, we have acted swiftly on critical infrastructure resilience in 3 priority areas: preparedness, response, and international cooperation. We have put in place a strong strategic policy and legislative framework to strengthen the EU's physical and cybersecurity and overall resilience. There were 2 directives that entered into force early last year in 2023, the directive on resilience of critical entities and the directive on measures for a high common level of cybersecurity across the Union. And they both cover also the energy sector, so they're very relevant also for this discussion. On cybersecurity, I would also mention the network code on sector-specific rules for cybersecurity aspects of cross-border electricity flows, which entered into force in June this year. It builds upon the existing EU cybersecurity horizontal framework and includes rules on common minimum requirements, planning, monitoring, reporting, and crisis management. Also, because we have NATO here, I would like to highlight also our strategic partnership with NATO, which is paramount to ensure resilience of infrastructure that is critical for member states as well as NATO allies. I'd like to also mention the work that we're doing in the EU-NATO task force on resilient infrastructure and its swift work in drawing up a report with targeted recommendations currently being implemented, where DG ENER is also very much involved. Joint exercises with NATO are an important part of this cooperation, and they can focus on protection of critical infrastructure, including on offshore pipelines. Also in 2023, the Commission supported member states with the development of the stress tests in the energy sector based on commonly agreed principles and with a focus on the resilience of critical infrastructure against antagonistic man-made threats. And now going forward, as we see, this topic is gaining traction on all levels. The next commission is going to focus very much on it, but also is the council, as we have seen that one of the main topics that the Polish presidency of the council, the upcoming Polish presidency, will tackle is energy security. From the Commission's perspective, we have already seen in the political mandates that one of the top priorities of the Commission that has just started a couple of days ago concerns building a safer and more secure Europe. There are several upcoming initiatives that will address this objective. So there will be the Preparedness Union strategy, which will follow up on the former Finnish president's Sauli Niinistö's report, where many recommendations of relevant and which directly address the energy sector, including grid. Moreover, as you have probably all seen in the political mandates, the new commission and in particular the Commissioner for Energy and Housing has been tasked to review the current security of supply framework in light of the current geopolitical context and the new challenges such as the electrification, paying closer attention to emerging risks, climate change impacts, cyber attacks, and critical infrastructure. I think you have all been very much involved in the fitness check consultation, which has just ended on the 26th of November. So the Commission is already preparing for the upcoming initiative. Also from the infrastructure point of view, because I come from the infrastructure unit, these aspects are becoming more and more relevant also from the perspective of the TENI regulation, where we aim at focusing more on strengthening infrastructure protection for cross-border energy infrastructure, so for projects of common interest and projects of mutual interest, to make sure that they operate safely, securely, and efficiently. This also requires mobilizing all different available financial resources for security-related elements for such projects. And here, the Connecting Europe facility for energy could potentially play an important role to support financing of such equipment or installations, including protection, monitoring, and control systems. This will become important also in the discussions for the next multi-annual financial framework. Regional cooperation will also be key to strengthen the resilience of our energy networks. The North Sea member states have already enhanced this cooperation by signing a declaration. And similarly, member states around the Baltic Sea are starting to work on it, also under the auspices of the BEMIP high-level group, where in the upcoming revision of the BEMIP Memorandum of Understanding, we are introducing energy security aspects and cooperation on that. Currently, what is happening in the Baltic Sea region is that we are fostering the exchange of knowledge and best practices and exploring potential ways to reinforce regional cooperation. And we have just given a mandate to TSOs around the Baltic Sea to work also on enhancing grid preparedness and resilience. Last but not least, the resilience of our energy infrastructure also boils down to the way we plan our networks, aiming at high levels of interconnectivity and building in redundancy. Last year, the Grids Action Plan provided significant improvements to deliver on the electricity infrastructure needed. It also looks at ensuring safety and security of the electrical installations, facilitating supply chain security, interoperability, and enabling investments in electricity network. And I would just like to conclude by saying that in terms of infrastructure planning, particularly when it comes to infrastructure with third countries, we realize more and more that relying on third country supplies to meet EU security of supply can present also security risks. And as such, interconnection projects with third countries, such as projects of mutual interest, should not create new dependencies or vulnerabilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anka, and thank you also for confirming the fact that the topic will stay at the center of the attention in the next mandate as well. So we expect to work even further on the topic. Now to Francois, if you could tell us if Acer shares a similar perspective, or if there are any difference in how you approach the topic, and if you could also tell us how Acer can contribute and facilitate to the resilience and security of the grid.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I'll discuss a bit more the system operation side of this topic, and I'll start with how we see the current situation, how we see it evolving over the next few years, and what are the consequences for action, because as you said, Zbigniew, speed is of the essence. We need to act now. Unfortunately, what we see as the situation today is that we see a number of operational incidents affecting EU grids, from a system split in 2021 to, unfortunately, a blackout in the Balkan region this year. So what we used to see as maybe plenty of safety margin is being questioned today. And what we see from investigations is that there are questions about whether the system operation rules are relevant and whether they are upheld correctly. At the same time, we also see a big change from system operation in that we see a phase out of a lot of thermal power plants that are the traditional provider of that system security. And we see an entry of new technologies, many of them based on power electronics, so that they behave differently in terms of how we operate them. Those are, of course, batteries, renewables, heat pumps, electric vehicles, you name it. And so what are the consequences for action? The first one is that we really need a fast implementation of the new grid connection requirements for demand and generation, so that we make sure that these new technologies play their part in ensuring a secure operation. We shouldn't wait for the amendment of the system operation guidelines to come in so that transmission and distribution systems are still operated safely. The second implication is digitalization. We like system operation being conservative. We don't like it being too conservative. And so we would like to see all the way to distribution level, better real-time monitoring, modeling, and control, so that we can operate safely the system, but at the same time have maybe a bit less margin so that we have more capacity out of the existing grid, and therefore we can moderate network costs, which are likely to be an increasing part of energy bills going forward. And finally, unfortunately, it's likely that we may have, again, incidents, being sabotage or system operation incidents. So we also need to improve the emergency plans so that we can mitigate the impact of those incidents on customers. And I'll close by mentioning the Draghi report. What would be a conference in Brussels these days without mentioning this report? To invite the Commission to consider whether we need further harmonization of the grid connection requirements so that we enable the manufacturer to better scale the components and to reduce the cost of them as a result. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francois. So we heard from a strictly European perspective as of right now, and I would like to broaden a little bit now the discussion, bringing in NATO and in particular the Energy Security Center of Excellence expertise. So we know that in the past few years, and especially after the invasion of Ukraine, NATO has, let's say, enhanced its work on preparedness, civil preparedness, resilience, also including in the energy sector and in the context of the protection of critical infrastructure. So, Christina, could you please expand a little bit on these efforts and share how NATO and the Energy Security COEs think about the resilience and security of the electricity grid, especially in considering the ongoing conflict in Europe?
Thank you for having us, and very happy to be here because I was involved with Baltic country synchronization and continental Europe networks in the past in one of my former jobs. So it's very interesting to follow up that we are so much advanced, and basically on the 9th of February next year, synchronization will actually happen. NATO is observing the region because we are very concerned what is happening at the moment but not only in Europe, globally as well. Basically, we are having interest in 3 different regions for different reasons. The first one is Ukraine because of ongoing war, and we are learning a lot of lessons there in practice. And I will tell a little bit more about that later. Second region is basically China because we are using a lot of Chinese technologies. Now we are trying to find the ways to limit their usage. And of course, the third one is Middle East. With further energy transition, it will lose its importance. But at the moment, everything what is happening in Middle East is literally affecting our security of supply because we are still very dependent on fossil fuels. Electrification is something what is happening at a very fast pace. And as you know, in 2022, we were having 20% of final energy consumption coming from electricity. It is forecasted by International Energy Agency that in 2030 we will have more than 50% of final energy consumption coming from electricity. So basically this means we have very fast, intense electrification, and every transmission system operator will have to do a lot of tasks and a lot of adjustment because centralized and decentralized systems, they are very different. NATO is also doing a tremendous job because we are preparing a lot of documents at the moment. And I would like to mention a few of them. First one being energy transition by design. As my colleague from European Commission mentioned, basically in 2022 with Nord Stream, we realized how vulnerable we are. And it was also something what NATO summit in Madrid took into account. So basically in 2022, we announced energy transition by design concept. This means that we will be decarbonizing and electrifying and using green technologies and will be climate neutral by 2050. But this concept was the first concept in a very big list of concepts. And I can't cover all of them, but I would mention those who are at the moment in development. So the first one would be operational energy concept that is basically ensuring interoperability between different systems. Because what we discovered during our tabletop exercises, that you have different voltages, different frequencies, and if you have 3 different standards, as we are having now, American one, European, and the one that is in UK, basically our military capabilities become limited. And to eliminate that, this concept is coming into power, and it should be adopted until the end of the year. And in our planning process, usually you have a concept, and then it's followed by doctrine. So concept is experimentation phase. We are checking what is working, how things should be arranged. Doctrine is already standardization. And I would say that centers of excellence, they are more efficient than formal NATO structure. Because usually from the past, it was taking up to 7 years to prepare certain concept. Now we need acceleration, so basically these concepts are prepared between, time is taking between 2 years and 6 months. The newest one is military infrastructure resilience concept that is developed by a team of American and European NATO member states. And it will be handed to NATO HQ at the end of this month. So it's interconnected with your grids, with your capability, because it's something what the military would be using in the case of conflict. Centers of excellence is actually a pretty new structure because NATO itself was established in 1949. But centers, first one was established in Germany in 2005. The second one was in Turkey in 2006. And the center I'm representing for energy security, it was established in 2012. And we did a lot of work with military structures, but now we are also paying a lot of attention to energy market players. So transmission and distribution system operators, energy producers, logistical capabilities owners, just because in this case, we need to understand what each party is capable of and what we can expect. As well, we can be contributing to your success and security with different expertise and trainings. Because NATO Center of Excellence for Energy Security, it has very different experts. And I myself, I'm covering electricity, but we have colleagues that are, I would say, from Turkey, and they are covering subsea cables. So for me, it was very big surprise because I didn't know myself that cables, we are not staying in one place. Because of underwater currents, we are moving all the time. And basically, if you are checking 2 years later, your cable might be in absolutely different place because it can be moved by 6 meters. And it's just an example because we have cybersecurity expert from Estonia. We are having colleagues that are covering very different topics. I would say I'm really inviting you to participate in tabletop exercises that we are organizing on an annual basis in our training courses. But what I would also be keen to tell, we did a lot of work during this year, sending our experts to Ukraine. So we will have study at the end of this year on lessons learned in Ukraine. And these lessons, they are very practical. So I would say it gives value added. And it's something what we are doing not for ourselves, but also for organizations like TSOs and European Union. And with European Union, we basically cooperate a lot because it's something what was forced by current circumstances. But I would say it's reiterated in all current summits because energy security is mentioned not only in Madrid, in Vilnius Summit Declaration, in Washington Summit Declaration this year, and even I believe it will be continued in Hague next year. So thank you for your time, and thank you for having an opportunity to present what we are doing.
Thank you so much, Christina. I don't know, Zbigniew, if you have any last-minute reactions, otherwise...
Just very quickly, I must appreciate the recognition of this topic among all the stakeholders, the Commission, ACER, NATO. It's very important that all the future decisions, all the new legislation will take this security of supply as a major principle which will be taken into account. And ENTSO-E is, of course, happy to serve as a center of expertise and as a reference point for these future amendments and challenges. So very happy to support and very happy to start working as of tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So please help me thank our speakers for this discussion. Thank you for, again, being here, sharing your insights, and I wish that you will continue to be engaged with ENTSO-E on these important topics in the next years.